What's up, Jody? GRI201. My name is Jesse, and I go by he, him pronouns. Um, I think I'm going to use this video to talk about the intersections of my own identity and how those intersections have affected my life. Um, I identify as a cisgender male. I am Latino. I am from a low income background, first generation college student, and I recently came out as bisexual. Um, and so the first kind of groupings of identities that I want to talk about in terms of intersectionality uh, would be the ones that I've lived with the longest and have spent the most time trying to learn about and understand. And that's my racial identity being a Mexican American, being Latino, um, and my class status, I guess you would call it, coming from a very low income background, having spent time in public housing, on government assistance. I grew up in an environment that was primarily uh, Hispanic, Latino, and black, and that neighborhood was very poor, and it was an area where it was very obvious the contrast between white folks and the rest of our community, because typically the people who we saw in our community who were white were people who had some sort of authority position, some sort of they were store managers at Walmart, they were oftentimes teachers, and administrations at these schools. So at a young age, I saw this contrast real early on, and I remember feeling a certain way about it, feeling like if this was just kind of the norm. And it wasn't until I was about in my early teens that I moved into a community that was a bit more, still predominantly black and brown, but had a bit more white people around it, more working class. Um, and it wasn't until that point that I saw that there were differences in the way that those of us who were brown, those kids in the schools, like the way we were looked at compared to our white peers at this point. This was, you know, like middle school time, realizing that there were very low expectations for your future, for your success. Um, so taking all that into consideration, being in this position of being a first generation college student is an interesting experience because of the fact that I carry all this experience and knowledge in coming into an environment where a decent portion of my peers don't understand that experience. A decent portion of my peers don't know what it's like to be sitting and hanging out at a welfare office for a couple hours. Um, they don't know what it's like to be in a school that is predominantly white, like my freshman year of high school, where I was able to go to a school that was in a different neighborhood than the one I lived in, and seeing just how different their experiences as students were compared to my experience. A lot of my peers don't know what that really feels like, to just witness that. So there is a lot of conflicting feelings that come with being in this position as a first generation college student. Um, and there are things that I've, because of this class, I've been able to kind of better understand, this more comprehensive understanding of white space and non-white space has definitely kind of opened my eyes to a lot of the ways I feel when I'm on campus, a lot of the internal microaggressions or just feelings in general of being a student, and being in a neighborhood that still kind of feels a little hostile at times. And then they're moving on to a different identity where that I haven't had as much time really getting into and trying and doing a lot of self reflection and learning on. I haven't spent enough time on it yet because it's still something that's fairly recent, is the intersection of my gender and my sexuality. I grew up in a very toxic masculinity environment. It was a neighborhood where being queer, if you were a man, that was something that was going to be looked down upon. You were going to be targeted for anything from just verbal taunts to physical abuse. And a lot of that had to do in part with the fact that the neighborhood that I was in was predominantly brown, predominantly Latino, and in that community, the idea of machismo and being a manly man is not only a preferred trait, but it's an expected one. And so the concept of just being queer in general, whether bisexual or gay or any spectrum of queer identity, you were a target in my neighborhood. And so it wasn't until the past year and a half now that I've been able to allow myself to understand some of the feelings that I've had, that I've felt the need to kind of stuff down and pretend weren't there. But it's also been a process that I've done without like family support. I'm not open to my family. I don't know if I ever will be, because my family is very, very much a machismo Latino family. And so I don't know if I'm ready to open that can of worms, I guess. But again, I think this class has helped me better understand how, especially with the discussions around intersectionality and listening to the experiences of other students whose different backgrounds and different ways of approaching things, they've all kind of allowed me to better be able to process these feelings that I'm having about my own identity, my own sexuality, the fact that I'm also grappling with the experience of being a outwardly presenting very traditionally masculine individual, but who's also carrying, or not carrying, it's the wrong word, but who's also living as a bisexual, as a queer man, and trying to find ways to both be open but not be made into a target or potentially putting myself at risk with being outed or something like that. So yeah, I've appreciated this class for the ability to hear the experiences of other students and then also learn how I can better work on understanding my own identity, learn the steps and the processes, because I think my experience when it came to race and my class identity and the intersections there were a lot more in my face, that I was forced to understand these feelings that I had. Whereas with my gender and my sexuality, it wouldn't be hard to not look into them and just kind of ignore an understanding of what those identities mean in my life and the feelings that I have about them. So thank you, Jody, for the opportunity to come into this class and have a space where we, so many of us from different backgrounds could discuss issues that most people perceive as taboo, I guess. Yeah, thanks.